Hi guys, hello. I know it has been a little while. I have been super busy, but I did want to come on live. That way we can do the live stream together. I can also kind of get caught up with everything that is coming. So I do have the spoiler site up on the Path of Exile thread, and I'll kind of go over that. I'll also go over kind of the pre-patch notes that they released a little bit earlier. And then after all of that, we'll do the live stream together. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask. I will be happy to answer. So let's go ahead and kind of get started. So, Cloak of Flame, I don't think is going to do anything for anyone. I think it's still fine for leveling, but it's not like the ignite duration is nice, but I don't think that's enough to enable a build with like nothing on the chest piece other than fire res and ignite duration. I don't think that's enough for it to be useful, but it will be really good while leveling, which is always needed. So the next card is going to be Doryani's Epiphany, which is 3 regrading lenses. We don't know like where this is going to drop or anything, which will impact, or the rarity, which will impact it quite a bit. Let me get this a little lower, that way y'all can see what I'm seeing. Bitter Dream is going to be interesting now that the Squire exists, because with the Squire existing, this could make an absolutely absurd like end game setup, which is kind of cool. Especially if you have some form of conversion or a pure cold crit, right? So you either want to be pure cold crit or have some kind of way to convert into cold. This will be very useful for either of those. There's a blueprint which is fully revealed, which I guess is nice. I don't see this being a big deal regardless. Let's do the Embrace. So this hasn't been used in a really long time. I don't see it really being used now, but it is possible that it will get used now. It does have fire and cold res, which is really nice while you're leveling. It does have attack and cast speed while you're ignited, with a chance to ignite, and basic, it improves your chance to ignite, and it makes it where anything can ignite you. So it's like a very heavy risk reward ring, which I kind of like from a design standpoint. I wish they would have done a little more with it, but it is interesting to say the least. Victoria's Flight. So this one's very interesting. For most builds that use these boots, they use it on a Animate Guardian, which basically negates this last line of text. Now, for minion builds that want their minions to zoom, so something like SRS or something like, what else would be good for that? Mainly just SRS is the only thing I can really think of. Or if you're an actual support character, so if you're doing a 6-man support, this might be worth using and basically have like a Quicksilver support character where they're running 5 Quicksilvers or 4 Quicksilvers and a life flask or a mana flask or some defensive utility flask. So this actually has a place. I don't think the place is in solo play though. I think this is going to be one of those things that there may be like a niche minion build that uses this, but I think for the most part it's going to be party play. The Vol Caress, I think is a good idea. I don't think it's implemented well. So the onslaught for 20 seconds is huge. Especially with like all the cooldown effects regarding vol skills, they're making it where you can't necessarily use it, but when you use it, it's way more powerful. But what this is really screaming with the +5 to level of socketed vol gems and the -5 to level of non-vol gems, this is screaming like put auras in me. Put every vol aura you can fit in me because they're going to get +5. So that's 25 base on things like grace, haste, discipline. Like people will vol them and just put them on there. I think is what's going to end up happening. I'm not sure how this interaction works. If it only affects the vol version or if it doesn't affect the vol version, affects both versions, as long as a socketed vol gems. So if it works the way it leads me to believe it will work, this is going to just be used by people that can slot vol auras, basically, and not at all for the intent where they're trying to go with it. I think the -5 was a mistake. I think this would be better if it was like +3 and it didn't have the -5, because then it wouldn't be as exploited. But giving them that kind of exploitation power, it gets scary. It gets very, very scary. So the new Bronze Leaf, basically what they changed is the +5 to movement skill gems, which is huge. So this just became the best chess piece if you are using Cyclone or another movement skill as your main attack. So things like Cyclone, Shield Charge, etc. This became insane for those kind of builds. So if you want a early cheap chess piece and you want to play Cyclone, this is your guy. This is 100% your guy. It will make it probably quite a bit more expensive because it's going to be so much better for skills like Cyclone specifically. The only thing I wish it had is some way of AoE instead of the damage. Like, the damage isn't a big deal. AoE would be huge. So if it was like +5 and then it was, 30% increased AoE, or +3 radius or +5 radius or something like that, it would be infinitely better than it is now, but it's still very, very good. Okay, so the Magnate also got changed. So strength remained the same. It added Ellie reses, which is really nice actually for a leveling belt. It kept the charges gained. Now it has 10% chance to deal double damage and 5% chance to deal triple damage. That's pretty solid, actually. So if you're playing a strength stacking build, or if you're playing like a one-shot build specifically, that 5 and 10% can really, like, if you pop everything and then slam once, like, that could be very, very big. Or if you're playing like Flicker Strike or something like that and using strength for whatever reason, that could also be really good. Alright, our map mods. Fortune favors the brave, Essence, Abyss, Ambush, Heist, Legion, Blight, and Expedition. I think it's crazy that Expedition is so daggone expensive. Like, 12C is a lot. It's a lot for anything, and it's especially a lot for these mods. Like, the ones that seem worth it are like the Ambush and Essence seem very, very worth it at their cost. Legion seems possibly worth it. Blight and Expedition seem just way overcosted for what they give. Now, there is a world where you could stack your Atlas for Expeditions and then not only stack your Atlas for Expeditions, but then also go a little bit further and run Scarabs with the Expedition. That might make it worth it, where you're just really high investment into Expedition Scarabs and expedition maps and selling blueprints. That might be a viable farm strategy. The only thing is those scarabs are kind of expensive to begin with, and then you couple that with 12C a map for this. I just don't know. Maybe that's a viable farming strategy. Now this one is this is probably the one I'm most excited about because of the 100% of physical damage to cold and 100 cold damage reflected. So this is useful for two very specific types of builds. It is very good if you are a Fizz spell that would previously use this and Fizz the Lightning. These gloves are just better than that now. Right? These gloves are just better than Fizz the Lightning, and these gloves you just use the new gloves. And they're just better. Because cold, for the most part, is significantly better than lightning. Then, on the builds that have some implicit conversion, so things like Divine Ire, it should still split the damage 50-50, which is cool. Because the gem has the split on it. So if the gem has the split on it, it should still divide it up. If the gem doesn't have a split on it, these should be very, very sought after. This does make them significantly better, especially like if you're an Inquisitor while leveling. These gloves are insane. Because even if you're not planning on playing like Blade Vortex or something of that nature, just having gloves that turn everything to cold, that make it where your crits are better, is just infinitely easier for leveling purposes. And then you can get to use that to carry to end game. And with that end game, you can kind of do whatever you need to do with it, which is very, 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 very cool. Let's go to... We got a little over an hour. I could have sworn there was a... Maybe it was in the name reveal? No, that's this. Oh, this has Twitch drops. Interesting. Is it on this one? No. There was something that was like a manifesto or something along those lines, I thought, not too long ago. Let's see if it's in one of these. No. Weird. I thought they had, like... I thought they had a post where they were going over a bunch of stuff. I could be wrong, though, but I could have sworn... Ah, there. Maybe it's under the timeline? No. Patch notes preview, maybe? Okay, that's a really good change, by the way, because that was the most annoying thing ever, was having to spec out of that node to run Divine Vessels. That was crazy. I thought it was around the same time as the Well-Dressed Exile. They have these things, but I'm not seeing... I'm not seeing the thing. Okay, so I thought they had some stuff about what they were doing. This is also huge, by the way. I do want to take a second and just talk about how absolutely amazing it is that they're doing the new wiki and not the old crappy wiki that's on fandom, and they're actually hosting it. What that means for those of y'all that are not in like the developer space at all. So what that means is now Path of Exile is going to host the web pages and the websites for free, because the wiki basically has just content about Path of Exile. What this means is there's no need for crowdfunding or anything like that. There's no need for ads if Path of Exile is hosting it. Now, they may link things to their trade, right? So they could have a link built in from the wiki that goes directly to the Path of Exile trade, instead of like PoE.ninja, which most people have moved over. I think most of the people I've dealt with have moved over to the Path of Exile trade when it works anyway, so I don't see that as a big deal. But it really means that they're moving in the direction of supporting the wiki, and maybe even possibly making changes to the wiki, which would be absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal, because if they're in charge of the wiki, it means we won't have to guess on certain things. We should have better information. Even if they do it on a hands-off approach, maybe they just make it where the people that do run it are have a little bit better information, which would be huge. Because the more information you have in a game like this, just absolutely the better it is. And this is a super fantastic thing for the good of the community, which is fantastic. And if you don't use this wiki, the PoEwiki.net, you should. It's just substantially better, and it has much more up-to-date information than the fandom does. Was there anything... Maybe if I click on this one? No? Maybe it's under... Okay, yeah, here's all the new ones. So there's Cold Iron Point, Maloney's Mechanism, Squire, Strangle Gas, Spike Gloves of the Conquest, which is Calling Strike, which is really good. Double Implicit Unique Boots, which is actually pretty cool. Maven item with 2 Implicits Corrupted is pretty cool. Mage Blood with 2 Implicit Corrupted is pretty cool. Kind of. This is going to be... Okay, so the thing about Mage Blood is Mage Blood has rolls on it. So there's going to be some really cheap corrupted Mage Bloods. Just be very careful of how many slots you are paying for. Because if it's 4 slots, it's going to be expensive, even if it's bad corrupted. Where if it's 2 or 3 slots, it won't be as expensive, because you lose a lot of flash support. So just be very, very cautious with a card like this. It can be amazing, and it can be really, really bad, and just brick a Mage Blood, basically. A Shaper Shield is really cool. I would be interested on eye level on that one. An Exceptional Gem is pretty cool. Some Lacrim Splinters is good. Nebulous is alright. And a Blueprint is alright. Okay, so we've covered all those. Let's see. Looks like this is going to go down, which is kind of a shame, because that means that PoE will also go down when this goes down. So I may quit streaming for that. If I do, then we'll kind of just see what happens there. Do you get your Wrangler wings if you do not have those already? I already have those. I wish they would use new ones. I guess what we can do while we're kind of just waiting is I can actually just throw up a little bit of we can just play a little bit. I can show you kind of what I ended the league with. I haven't played a lot of Path of Exile this league, just to be extremely transparent. It's been a crazy working time, and I've been working long, ridiculous hours. So I ended up playing this character the most. Now, if I remember correctly, they're going to make some changes that would directly affect this style of play. And I think it was they lowered the cap. Or they didn't lower the cap. They put a cap on the melding. So what I have is I have plus levels and plus maximum cold res to get me to where I am 90 all. So you can't see it here. But then when we go here, you'll notice it's magically 90 to all res, which is fantastic. That's kind of what you want to be. This is not a fast character. I kind of went with the trend that they were just... They went a little overkill to me on the damage of this league. And since they went a little overkill on the damage, I decided that the best course of action was to go overkill on the survivability. So I don't have huge damage numbers. Just 100% honest, not huge damage numbers. But what I lack in damage numbers, I more than make up for in basically being unkillable. This character has something like 18 deaths on it, which is pretty low for me at a character that's at 95. Sure. The map boss can be tankier. It legit does not matter. Okay. Okay, there is supposedly patch notes, which is cool. We'll grab those. Oh, nice. Ritual. See, basically the idea is that there's some people that are doing like the low-life version of this. I just went pure CI because it's just more survivable now that they have stuff that kills you if you're low-life, and they made low-life higher. And I just didn't want to die to those kind of things. Because that would mean that I couldn't do expeditions, really, or I couldn't do... There's another one besides just expeditions that you can't do. There's like 2 of them. But there's like 2 things that you just... It's very, very risky to do. Plus, with the Arch Nemesis mods and all that, I just decided to go pure CI. It's like armor CI, but it's really just CI with determination and with like the armor auras, which I think is like a lot of people's new solution to how to deal with Arch Nemesis, because the alternatives are not good. So since there's not good alternatives, I think the correct answer is you just, you know, go crazy with this. And you can see I run a bunch of charges and a bunch of other things just to help cap myself. Basically, I would get 85 to all elemental resists with the change to melding, which is still fine. Like, it's a lot of damage difference, but it's not the end of the world. Like, 85 for the same investment level is pretty reasonable. And then if you go over that, you can still like you basically you just have to invest more into scaling your purity of ice levels is essentially what that means, or get better gear, which is fine. Like it's okay for melding to be heavy gear requirement. I don't see that as an issue. And even when you first get it, let's say your max is like, you know, 80, let's say it's like 82 with the gem or whatever, that's still significantly better than 75. So it's just fine. You'll just want to, have to re-roll your melding, basically. And you can see, like, it's not a fast build, but it is, like, very, very tanky. And that's all I'm... If Arch Nemesis isn't going to be changed in some significant way, I will probably play either this or SRS. Both seem good. We'll have to see, like, what gets announced today. That could completely change my mind. But Cold Dot seems just really strong, and it's very easy to level Cold Dot. That's really where the lack of deaths show, is the leveling of being able to freeze and chill everything while leveling is just massive. And if you haven't played this kind of a build before, basically what I am doing, just so you're on the same page with me, is I am essentially casting Cold Snap and walking with a Vortex, like Plane Chain Vortex, not Blade Vortex or anything. And then if I need to, I will use Vol Cold Snap. Like, here's the boss, and as you can see, he's a little tankier. So we're gonna use Vol Cold Snap with him, just deal some more damage. Okay, we got through his massive amount of ES, and now he's pretty easy. And so, like, it's fine if it takes a second, as long as there's very little risk of death. And that's kind of what I've just learned to embrace with this build, is like, it's not going to be a fast mapper, but it's going to be a very risk-free mapper. And there's not a lot of, like, basically most people are going either all in offense or all in defense, because it's very, very hard to achieve both right now. And I have a feeling they actually like that philosophy, which I wish it was a little more middle of the road, where it wasn't like so hard to kind of have a balanced approach. Because balanced approaches are generally like the most fun way to play and experience most things I have found. Like, I want some defense and I also want some offense. I don't want to just fall over, for no reason whatsoever. Yeah, give me fuses. But yeah, so this is kind of what I've been doing when I have played. So it's not super exciting gameplay by any stretch of the imagination, but it is kind of fun. And surprisingly so. Like, I think that sometimes we get we get too all in on the, oh, this isn't like top tier damage or whatever. But yeah. So, like, you can see this character's pretty freaking well geared, right? This chest is insane. Could be a lot better on the energy shield, but it is pretty good. Pretty good. Same thing with like basically everything. Is like I kind of sacrificed energy shield here for other things. Now you can also get max res shields, but with them changing melding the flesh. So what they did is instead of just having negative to all elemental resistances, they also added like 2 to 4 minus max, which just makes it harder to pull off. It doesn't mean that you can't still get 90, but you can. It's harder to get 90, which I think is fine. I think they felt that this was too easy, which is fair. And you can kind of see what I did in my tree. So I have my Watcher's Eye that gives me increased energy shield recovery. I also take more damage as cold. Then I have Prismatic Heart, Deep Chill, Disorienting Display, Deep Chill again, Blast Freeze. Blast Freeze is just to spread the love around. Then I have Enduring Composure to give me my endurance charges. Pure Guile, which lowers my reses and gives me some blind. I have my extra attributes, Wicked Ward, Mystic Bulwark, Arcane Focus, Deep Thoughts, Brand Equity. I can actually get out of the brand stuff and just get more ES now, because I kind of ditched brands. So I could lose this node and all of these nodes, and I can just put those into like that would give me Foresight, and that one's not good anymore. So give me Foresight and something else. I would find something else to put it into. I can maybe start working on going over here through this way, I think it is. Yeah. That just give me a bunch of damage. You'll notice I'm using Divine Shield and Glancing Blows together, just for maximum survivability. This is the kind of stuff that they're trying to reduce. And so we'll kind of see what changes they make. I wish they would just realize that they made a mistake with auras, and we can move on with our lives, and then tone everything down and change how auras work and make it where you don't need so many defensive auras now, because it feels really scummy, to be honest with you. But anyway, I hope this has been helpful. I know that we didn't do the whole thing. I may stream it on Twitch after the downtime. I didn't know there was going to be a downtime, which basically affects what I was planning on doing for this going into the live stream. But as always, I hope you have a absolutely wonderful day, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Till then, stay safe, Exiles.